Queen Camilla.
Queen Camilla.
Queen Camilla.
How was she dangerous?
Let's move on to Princess Kate's mom, otherwise known as Super Granny. Carole Middleton is featured in this week's issue of People magazine and has a great...
She was the villain. She was the third person in the marriage. She needed to rehabilitate her image. That made her dangerous because of the connections that she was forging within the British press.
Carole Middleton just exposed a royal secret so shocking that the palace is scrambling to contain the damage. The truth about her hidden feud with Queen Camilla has finally come to light, and the internet is exploding. For years, they smiled for the cameras, but behind closed doors, a silent war raged on. Tune in as more secrets unravel, because what Carole revealed is just the beginning. The royal rift exposed, Carole and Camilla weren't always at odds. In public, they played nice, standing side by side at royal events, exchanging polite words. But under all that, things were tense. Really tense. It all started when Kate Middleton joined the royal family. Carole, always looking out for her daughter, made sure Kate fit in. But Camilla? She had her own ideas about what a future queen should be like. Kate's background, growing up in a regular middle-class home, was something Camilla couldn't ignore. She came from a world of upper-class traditions, and to her, the idea of Kate stepping into such an important role wasn't ideal. But one night, tensions exploded, and nothing was the same again. As Kate and William's wedding day approached, things got even trickier. Carole started noticing little jabs from Camilla, small comments here and there that hinted at her doubts about Kate. At first, Carole brushed them off. Maybe she was reading too much into things. But the remarks kept coming. There were whispers about Kate not being royal enough, about her family not knowing how things worked in the palace. Carole kept quiet, not wanting to stir the pot. But deep down, she was fuming. Then came the real test, when William and Kate had children. The tension between Carole and Camilla became impossible to ignore. Camilla wanted things done the old-fashioned way. Carole, on the other hand, had a more modern, hands-on approach. She wanted to be involved, to help raise her grandkids the way she saw fit. But Camilla's influence was growing, and Carole started feeling like she was being pushed out. It wasn't just about family traditions. It was a silent battle for control, over who had more say in the lives of the future king's children. It all came to a head at a private family gathering. Camilla, feeling confident in her position, reportedly made comments that cut deeper than ever before. She questioned Carole's role, hinted that she didn't belong in certain royal matters, and made it clear that she saw herself as the one with the final say. That was it. Carole had enough. She wasn't just going to sit back and take it anymore. She wasn't just fighting for herself, she was standing up for Kate, who had quietly dealt with years of Camilla's subtle digs. When Carole finally spoke out, the reaction was instant. Her words weren't direct, but they didn't have to be. The message was loud and clear: she was done being sidelined, done letting Camilla control the narrative. The revelation sent shockwaves through the royal family, exposing cracks in the picture-perfect image they worked so hard to maintain. It wasn't just a family disagreement. It was proof that the royal household wasn't as united as they wanted people to believe. The royal family tried to contain the damage. Their usual strategy, stay silent, let the rumors die down, wasn't working this time. Public opinion was split. Some people praised Carole for standing her ground, calling her brave for exposing the reality behind the palace walls. Others thought she should have kept quiet, saying family matters shouldn't be played out in public. But one thing was certain: the monarchy had taken a hit, and there was no going back. Stories started emerging about the long-standing tension between the two women. People talked about how Carole was often left out of certain royal events, how decisions about her grandchildren were made without her input, how Camilla's influence over the family had grown stronger over the years. It painted a clear picture: this wasn't just a one-time disagreement. It was a battle that had been brewing for years, and now it was finally out in the open. With the media in a frenzy, questions started flying. How would this affect William and Kate? Would the tension between their mothers spill over into their roles as the future king and queen? And what about the rest of the royal family? Were they secretly taking sides, or were they just trying to keep the peace? One thing was for sure, Carole's words had shaken the palace to its core. And this fight between tradition and change was far from over. The news spread like wildfire, dominating every social media platform and every headline in the country. People couldn't get enough of it. Everyone had their own opinion, their own theories, their own interpretations of what really went down behind those castle walls. The palace was desperate to shut it down. But it was too late. The damage had been done, and no carefully crafted PR statement could erase the whispers now traveling from one end of Britain to the other. Royal experts dissected every possible angle. What did this mean for Camilla's future? A monarchy at the crossroads. As the dust began to settle, one thing became clear: this wasn't just a personal feud. It was a reflection of the challenges the monarchy faces. Balancing tradition with modernity, the middle-class background of the younger woman's mother and her rise to prominence through hard work and determination symbolized the changing face of Britain, a nation where social mobility and meritocracy are celebrated. Camilla, by contrast, represents the old guard, a world of aristocratic privilege and rigid expectations. Their conflict, though deeply personal, is also emblematic of a larger cultural shift within the royal family and the society it represents. In the weeks that followed, both women seemed to retreat from the public eye, leaving royal watchers to speculate about the long-term implications of their feud. Would this rift ever truly heal, or would it continue to simmer beneath the surface, shaping the dynamics of the royal family for years to come? For now, the answers remain unclear. But one thing is certain: the monarchy's ability to adapt to modern expectations is being tested like never before. The air in the room felt heavy, almost oppressive, as the mother's words echoed around. It wasn't just an accusation, it was a declaration, a spotlight shining on what she claimed was Queen Camilla's carefully hidden schemes. She wasn't one to mince words, and her tone left no room for doubt. She alleged that Camilla's climb to the throne wasn't just ambitious but ruthless. The sheer audacity of the accusations left everyone stunned, their silence almost as loud as her claims. She painted a vivid picture of manipulation and strategy, of a woman who knew how to pull strings behind closed doors. According to her, Camilla treated people like pieces on a chessboard, moving them to suit her grand plan. Every decision, every move, every whispered conversation, she suggested, was all part of Camilla's rise. As she spoke, the room seemed darker, the tension thicker, as if the very walls were absorbing her words. Her speech wasn't just a critique, it was an outright dismantling of a carefully constructed royal facade. She alleged that behind Camilla's composed public image lay a history of cold calculations and whispered betrayals. The room, once filled with the quiet dignity of royal decorum, was now alive with an undercurrent of shock and unease. The royal family, icons of stability and tradition, suddenly seemed fragile, their legacy on shaky ground. And she wasn't done. She revealed what she claimed to be the crown jewel of her revelations, a hidden past Camilla had allegedly spent years concealing. The specifics were damning: financial scandals involving embezzlement, tax evasion, and money laundering. These weren't just minor indiscretions. They were the kind of accusations that could topple governments, let alone a royal reputation. Camilla, usually the picture of composure, visibly faltered. Her pale face betrayed her shock. For a moment, the queen consort seemed lost, her carefully crafted armor cracked by the weight of these claims. The palace itself felt different now, less like a symbol of unshakable tradition and more like a house of cards ready to tumble. Kate's mother stood unwavering, her eyes locking onto Camilla's with piercing intensity. It wasn't just personal. It was a battle, for control, for legitimacy, and perhaps, for justice. The allegations left the royal family scrambling to contain the fallout, their silence only fueling the storm. This wasn't the first time the British monarchy had faced scandal, but these claims felt different. They weren't just whispers or tabloid fodder. They were precise, cutting, and public. The monarchy, with its centuries-old tradition, had weathered storms before. Marriages broken by duty, abdications that shook the empire, and public missteps had all been woven into its history. Yet, this felt more personal, more dangerous. Carole's accusations brought to mind other moments when the royal family's carefully maintained image had slipped. From Edward VIII's abdication for Wallis Simpson to Princess Margaret's turbulent marriage to Anthony Armstrong-Jones, the monarchy had long been marked by internal tension. These stories of betrayal and power struggles weren't new, but they had usually been confined to hushed whispers within palace walls. As the royal family struggled to stay united, Carole's claims revealed deeper fights that had been hidden for years. The family rift that shook the palace was undeniable. What made this different was Carole herself. As the mother of the future queen consort, she occupied a unique position, both an insider and an outsider. She knew the game, but she wasn't bound by the same rules. And she had made it clear, she wasn't afraid to play. The tension between Carole and the royal family had been brewing for years, long before this public showdown. It had started subtly, with small power plays and quiet jabs. Carole, fiercely protective of her daughter Kate, had often clashed with other senior royals over matters of influence and tradition. Her involvement was sometimes seen as an overstep by those deeply embedded in palace politics. The battle of wills between Carole and others within the royal circle became a defining dynamic, with both sides determined to assert their authority. Position 1 flashpoint had been the planning of Kate and William's wedding. Carole had wanted to ensure her daughter's day was perfect, but her involvement was interpreted as meddling by some. Tensions flared at a pre-wedding reception, with Carole feeling dismissed and her influence challenged. It was a moment that set the tone for her relationship with the palace, a simmering rivalry that only grew over time. As tensions deepened, it became clear that the conflict wasn't just about personal grievances. It reflected larger issues within the monarchy. Tradition clashed with modernity, and personal ambition collided with public expectation. Now, with Carole's accusations laid bare, the fallout threatened to engulf the entire royal family. Reputations were under scrutiny, and the monarchy itself seemed vulnerable, its stability shaken. Amid the chaos, Carole stood firm. Her words had lit a fire that couldn't be easily extinguished. She had forced the public and the palace to confront uncomfortable truths. Whether her claims would hold up under scrutiny remained to be seen, but their impact was undeniable. The British monarchy, long a symbol of resilience and continuity, now faced a new challenge. It wasn't just about defending individual members of the family, it was about preserving an institution that had weathered centuries of change. The stakes were high, and the consequences uncertain. One thing was clear, Carole's words had changed the game, and the monarchy would never be the same. As years slipped by, the tension between Carole and the royal household didn't fade. If anything, it grew sharper with every encounter, adding fuel to the fire. These dynamics, shaped by power and influence, left no room for peace. Then, just when it seemed like their rivalries had reached their peak, something emerged. Something so shocking it threatened to tear apart the fragile balance within the palace walls. A revelation was coming. And when it did, there would be no going back. The world of one senior royal began to unravel with a bombshell revelation about their past. For years, they had built a polished image as a dignified member of the royal family. But beneath the surface lay buried truths that couldn't stay hidden forever. When these facts finally saw the light, they sent shockwaves through the palace. The individual was stunned at first, frozen in disbelief, their mind racing to process what was happening. The weight of their actions bore down, threatening to crush everything they had worked so hard to build. However, shock soon gave way to anger. Their face twisted in fury as they lashed out at everyone around them. Refusing to take responsibility, they blamed others for exposing their past. Rage boiled over, and forgiveness seemed out of reach. But as time passed, anger turned into despair. They began to grasp the gravity of the situation. Their carefully crafted image was destroyed, and they knew they could never step into the public eye again without facing ridicule. Consumed by shame, they became a recluse, shutting themselves off from the world. The walls of their room became their prison, and the ghosts of their past tormented them. They saw visions of their mistakes, heard echoes of condemnation in every corner. Their grip on reality weakened, and the mask they had worn for years finally crumbled. The palace staff watched in horror as the once commanding royal descended into a state of paranoia and isolation. Their downfall was complete, not because of the revelations themselves, but because of the web of lies and deceit that had finally caught up to them. With the royal family under pressure, Kate Middleton had to step up and bring some calm to the chaos. A new chapter for the royal family had begun. The royal family's reaction was as dramatic as the revelations. Prince William was livid, his anger directed at the betrayal he felt. He had long struggled with certain family dynamics after his mother Diana's death, but this was something he couldn't forgive. Kate Middleton, his wife, was heartbroken. Despite the underlying tensions, she had tried to build cordial relationships, even seeing certain individuals as mentors. Now, Kate felt both betrayed and disillusioned. Prince Charles, the Queen's eldest son, was perhaps the most conflicted. Denial was his initial response. He had always known the past was complicated, but this went beyond anything he had imagined. As the reality of the situation sank in, Charles could no longer shield himself from the consequences. His marriage and his public image took a severe blow. Meanwhile, Queen Elizabeth II was devastated. For a woman who valued loyalty and integrity above all, the revelations were a bitter betrayal. The palace was thrown into chaos as aides scrambled to manage the fallout. In the midst of this storm, Kate Middleton found herself at a crossroads. Once celebrated as the perfect royal wife, she now faced the enormous challenge of helping to stabilize the monarchy. With William by her side, she worked to navigate the chaos that surrounded the palace. But the weight of the revelations and the strain on her family took a visible toll on her. Kate's usual composure began to falter. Stress showed on her face. Kate's mother, Carole, stepped in as a pillar of strength. Despite her own complicated history with certain royals, Carole offered her unwavering support to her daughter. Together, they worked to find a way forward, even as the royal family's future seemed more uncertain than ever. Kate knew that the monarchy's reputation had been deeply damaged. The Queen's health was failing, Charles's reputation was in tatters, and the public's confidence in the royal family was at an all-time low. As the days stretched into weeks, Kate Middleton's resolve only grew stronger. She knew the monarchy faced challenges unlike any it had seen before, and that change was essential for its survival. It was no longer enough to rely on tradition and the old ways of doing things. The royal family needed to become more open, honest, and trustworthy to rebuild the public's faith. Kate made transparency, accountability, and integrity the foundation of her actions, becoming a new symbol of hope for the monarchy. With the Queen's full support, Kate stepped into a larger role, taking on responsibilities that carried great weight. She handled every challenge with grace, even when the pressures of public scrutiny were at their highest. Her ability to stay calm and her unwavering commitment to restoring the monarchy's reputation quickly earned her respect, both within the royal family and beyond. People admired her for showing that true strength doesn't come from status but from staying grounded and focused on what truly matters. Kate's actions weren't just about preserving the monarchy but about making it more relatable and aligned with the values of a changing world. Meanwhile, Camilla's story took a very different path. Once a central figure in royal affairs, her influence faded as her past scandals overshadowed everything else. Her name became tied to controversy, and she withdrew from the public eye, leaving the palace behind. Camilla's fall from grace was swift and served as a powerful reminder of how deception and ambition can lead to downfall. What had once seemed like resilience now looked like a cautionary tale, showing how important trust and authenticity are in the public realm. Kate Middleton, on the other hand, emerged as a bright light for the royal family's future. Her rise symbolized a new chapter, one that promised to leave the mistakes of the past behind and build something stronger. Kate understood the importance of adapting to modern times while honoring the royal family's long history. She worked tirelessly to bring fresh purpose to the monarchy, balancing tradition with progress. Her determination inspired many, offering hope that the institution could not only survive but thrive in a changing world. The challenges facing the royal family were immense, and the path ahead was far from smooth. Yet, under Kate's leadership, there was a renewed sense of direction and purpose. Her strength gave the monarchy a real chance to rise above its struggles and regain the trust it had lost. Kate's vision for the future wasn't just about preserving the crown, it was about making it meaningful again. The royal family stood at a crossroads, but with Kate leading the way, they had a chance to build something truly lasting, rooted in values of honesty and service. Could Carole Middleton's bombshell reveal deeper cracks within the royal family, or is this just a strategic move to shift power dynamics? Share your thoughts and don't forget to like and subscribe for more.